sit right there.
What are we waiting for?
We scoping the place out, man. We ain't gonna just run up in there. That's how you get shot.
Falling asleep.
What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. You walk. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say that again. You walk. Wow. Ooh. Yeah. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
You don't know nothing about no war.
Everybody knows war. Yeah. What it is good for? Absolutely nothing. Good God, you all.
It ain't you all, it's y'all.
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 Man, you sound like a karate movie. Y'all.
As you can see, the 1998 film Rush Hour has been one of the many movies produced in Chinatown, LA throughout the years. However, the Los Angeles Chinatown shown in the film has not always been what it is currently today. Much like every other ethnic community, Chinatown got its start with the massive influx of a specific ethnic group into a certain area. In 1848, a major factor that brought many Chinese as well as other individuals to California was the gold rush. As the push-pull theory explains, the United States had a pull factor which brought people to California specifically, in search of work and wealth. Another one of these factors was in 1864, when the Central Pacific Railroad Company began recruiting thousands of Chinese laborers in order to receive help in building the Transcontinental Railroad. Sadly, by the railroad's completion in 1876, thousands of Chinese workers had died due to the harsh environments they toiled in. After the completion of the railroad, numerous Chinese workers decided to settle in California, and due to the city's growing population, many of these individuals ended up in Los Angeles. As the 1870 census showed, 172 out of the 5,728 Los Angeles residents were Chinese, and by 1900 this number grew to about 3,200. However, along with the increase of Chinese immigrants to the area came an increase of discrimination against the ethnic group. Nationally, in 1882, the passing of the Chinese Exclusion Act suspended Chinese laborers from immigrating to the United States. It also denied current residents the right to become naturalized citizens. However, this act held businessmen, students, and diplomats as an exception to the rules since they were perceived as being a benefit to society and the economy. This actually explains the large amount of Chinese laundrymen and restaurateurs who took these so-called undesirable and feminine jobs in order to remain U.S. citizens. Also, an instance of discrimination was the invoking of the Page Act, which banned the entry of Chinese and other Asian women into the United States starting in 1875. Due to the fact that Asian women were often brought over to the U.S. by organizations called tongs and forced to live in brothels, the United States government was able to use a social construct to discriminate against all individuals who fit this demographic. This undoubtedly affected Chinatown since Old Chinatown was initially developed as a bachelor society of Chinese men that increased the commonality of prostitution use. In this photo, a lone woman looks for customers in front of the four-door brothel on Alameda Street. The continuation of prostitution after the law was enacted shows the ineffectiveness of the Page Act, which may have been due to the fact that anyone who looked Asian at the time was accused of being a prostitute and usually deported. One act that targeted Chinese specifically was the 1893 Geary Act. With this law, Chinese laborers were to be registered with the government. However, since the registration was usually ordained in a slanted manner, many of these Chinese men were accused of being suspicious, resulting in the first deportee from Los Angeles as well as many other cities. Just a few years later, in 1907, the Expatriation Act denies and revokes citizenship to American women who marry foreign nationals. This is an attempt to prevent so-called intermixing of races. Although the act was revoked in 1922, Asians remained the exception to the rule since women who married men were still denied the right to citizenship. Here is the C family, a successful merchant family in Chinatown that was affected by this law. Well into the 20th century, a change for Asians, and Chinese specifically, began to take place. In 1936, the Cable Act was repealed, which allowed any woman to marry any Asian man without the loss of her citizenship. Then in 1945, the War Brides Act made it possible for more Chinese women to enter the United States. The War Brides Act specifically allowed Chinese servicemen to bring back their Chinese-born wives to live in the United States. Many of these couples moved to coastal cities, including Los Angeles. During 1943, arguably the most influential event for advocating Chinese rights occurred. Madam Chiang Kai-shek, China's first lady at the time, requested that the United States repeal the Chinese Exclusion Act during her speech at the Los Angeles Hollywood Bowl. As a result, the United States follows her request within the same year, thereby allowing free immigration of the Chinese into the country and granting current Chinese residents the right to become citizens. Throughout the years, Chinatown has grown and changed along with the growth and change of Chinese Americans. At the same time Chinese Americans began being included with the rest of American society, Chinatown experienced major changes as well. In December of 1933, what came to be considered as Old Chinatown was torn down in order to make way for Union Station. By 1935, the Chinese enclave of Alameda was entirely razed, and construction of the new Union Station passenger terminal began to take place. Then on June 25, 1938, throngs of dignitaries, celebrities, and members of the community crowded the new Central Plaza to celebrate New Chinatown and the opening of the first Chinese-owned enclave in the United States. With the completion of New Chinatown came the resurgence of Chinese businesses in the area and the expansion of the Chinese community. From the start of immigration to Chinatown to present times, the Chinese-American community has demonstrated immense resilience. Just recently, on June 25, 2008, the community celebrated its 70th anniversary, hosting a parade and many other festivities. To this day, Chinatown is thriving in its business, sociality, and community relations, giving reason to believe that Chinatown, Los Angeles, is here to stay.